Hey guys, welcome into the Beehive. I'm your host, TheBee, and this is where we stack precious metals like it's pollen and nectar. And we got a special guest here today with us, Ian Everard of ARK S.G.O. Stands for Silver Gold Osmium. And let's bring him up here and have a talk. Ian, welcome in. Good to have you. How are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you. Had to get ready in a rush. I had a customer come in just before I shut the door, and couldn't get rid of him.
Well, that's a good problem
Actually,
to have, I suppose.
yeah, I should be more polite in case he's watching. He's a good friend.
Oh, good. Well, it's good to have you here. Sounds good, looks good. Does everybody hear us okay in the chat? Hello, Homestead Aquarius, Tiger Stacker, Silver and Cigars. Thank you for being here. So, yeah, I thought we'd have Ian back on here, and he agreed to be so gracious as to join us. And we'll we'll talk some precious metals and just kind of the big picture. And I thought to start off, let's just jump in and kind of talk a little bit. There's a lot of talk about BRICS and what's going on there. I know there's a lot of different viewpoints on that. I know we had a little talk kind of off air, and I thought we'd just go over some of those things. It's kind of interesting. Just today I was hearing on some other channels and yesterday that the BRICS has doubled and a lot more nations want to join on, and I think that's probably happening. I think we both probably agree that they're looking for optional trade routes and what to do. They obviously, like us, recognize the dollar is on its way out, and so, but it's like, what are you going to do? Starting up another paper currency isn't going to do anything. So we all know it would have to be even pegged to our dollar. I mean, how else are you going to do that unless we find something real and tangible, right? So why don't you just speak a little bit on that, and how do you see it? Where am I off, or what do you see there?
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely, it's a time of turmoil currency-wise. I think the dollar will be the last fiat currency standing. I can't see any other major currency, fiat currency, will be able to survive as long as the dollar. Doesn't mean that the dollar is much good for a store of value, but it's still the most liquid means of transaction and the most trusted and the most desired around the world.
Right, and it's what we use as a price point kind of around the world, right? I mean, it's what everything's priced to. I mean, we can trace it back, I guess, to the gold standard, but
yeah,
once we broke off of that, I mean, it's kind of been our peg to where things are, hasn't it? Kind of worldwide.
Yeah, and for sure, the fuse was lit for the dollar's destruction once Nixon announced the temporary suspension. Where were we? We were $35 an ounce, and now we're 2,042 today. I think we're hovering around 2,043. So really, money will reveal what fiat currencies are, and as we know, gold and silver are money.
Yep. Yeah, and so it just is kind of confirmation that it's not just me who's making it up, and I mean, not only do you see it, but these other countries are even now publicly talking about this, and how do we get around this, and so yeah, it's starting to show through that our system's becoming too wavery, especially after what we did, I suppose, with Russia's pile of money in our system, huh?
Yeah. They really, yeah, I'm not quite sure how Putin got caught out like that. He must have, you would have thought he would expect that reaction. Maybe not. Whether they'll dig into their gold, I'm not sure. It looks like their economy is running at a loss now. How long the oligarchs will put up with that, I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's kind of, I was thinking in my in my head about this, and it's kind of a sad story, and I hate to be depressing, but it seems like the way the system is set up now, that we're a debt perpetual system, right? Like, we need more debt to pay off our debt, and we just keep doing this.
Yeah.
And if you don't start taking precautionary steps, and you're tied into that, I mean, it's just kind of eating away at you automatically. I mean, you're in a spiral going down. You may not know it, but it's hurting you daily. And if you don't start taking preparations,
Yeah,
you're
I
going to
mean,
get
it's the biggest taxation any individual in a Western country will face, is the devaluation of the currency. If your wealth is stored in that, if your IRA is going to just pay out in dollars. I don't know if did you hear that quote from Alan Greenspan years ago? He was asked, will the US always be able to pay for its unfunded liabilities in the future? All of the
right.
all
He's
of the
like,
military
sure.
benefits, the Medicare, that I think it adds to somewhere around $120 trillion that the US government's promised to pay out, but it hasn't got and has no hope of ever getting. And Alan Greenspan replied, yeah, of course the US government will be able to honor its obligations because it creates a currency, so it will be able to write the check and send the check out. And then he paused, and then he said, but they won't be able to guarantee what you can buy with a check.
Exactly.
So basically, you're saying it's been known for a long time that at some point this system dramatically fails. I mean, you said perpetual earlier. Well,
right. Maybe that was
it pretends that it can go on forever.
Right. But yeah, and it does seem maybe that we're coming to that point where some of those nations are starting to know, and there's talk about it, and obviously we see, for those awake, in the grocery stores. So yeah. Yeah, welcome in, Stacking Surfer. Good to have you. We've got White Cross Precious Metals too. He's a great channel. Welcome in, White Cross.
I've just seen that comment by Homestead Aquarius, Kevin. And this is exactly what I've been seeing, that the people at the top, they've got plans to keep their power. So I don't think that, I mean, it would appear the Federal Reserve doesn't know what it's doing. But its owners are the very people that control trillions of dollars of wealth, or perceived wealth. I think they know they can't do one more massive inflation without completely destroying the dollar in a very short period of time. Maybe not quite hyperinflation, but if we get to 20-30% inflation, the US system breaks down. People who are living paycheck to paycheck will just not manage, because
is that kind of a line. Where do you think we're at right now then with that?
I think the shadow stats, when I think they used the 1980 calculation, I think we're probably around 10-12% for the average basket of normal people have to buy week in, week out.
Yep.
So I don't think we're seeing much of a reduction in inflation.
Yeah.
And the debasement has been so huge, and not just in the US but worldwide, it could take a lot longer to filter through. The world has never tried it. The amount of debasement, probably $25 trillion, 2020 to 2022 worldwide. At some point, that perceived wealth, because that's all currency is a potential claim to potentially buy something real in the future.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to bring this up a little bit later, but since it's kind of on the topic, have you happened to see The Great Taking?
I've caught a bit of it. I did skim it. I'm not a very fast reader, and I did watch Mike Maloney talk about it. and it
Okay.
does seem incredibly well researched, and it does fall in place with the banking regulations that were changed, that any
Right.
depositor is an unsecured creditor. Obviously, the Treasury and the government didn't follow that plan with the bank failures early last year. They paid out. But Janet Yellen did say, when she was questioned, I think it was an Ohio senator.
Yep.
And she said, no, we probably won't bail out the small guys that don't matter.
Right. Not unless we approve of them
Exactly.
On X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
And they're having to pay increased premium into the FDIC. And they've basically been told, well, yeah, but you probably won't be covered. It'd just be like you were a car insurance company saying, yeah, well, you have to pay your premium, but we probably won't pay out if you total your car or somebody T-bones you. We're not going to pay out.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's very, very nerve-wracking, and it seems to kind of line up with other things that I see. So, not to be fearful of it, but aware of it is good. So, yeah, I put a post out about that. I think I have a link to that on my channel. It's the first post I put out with a link to that documentary. So it's kind of an interesting watch. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And then, so the legalization of gold and silver in the States, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. We've had a few states that have brought gold and silver into the vocabulary, I guess, of legal tender, making it recognizable for payments of even taxes and what taxes and debts, basically like in the Constitution, except brought over to legality so that they recognize it.
Yeah.
That's seems to me to be really big news. That's not even really being too hugely talked about. So what do you think on that side of the deal?
It's well, the big picture is, how do you do a transition without complete collapse of society from a fiat system that the government tells us this is what you use, this is what you've got to pay your taxes in, or men with guns will turn up at some point, take your property, or so how would you switch the current system to a fair system? I don't think anybody's got an easy answer to that. I don't think there is an easy answer. I mean, I think the kindest way would be a very gradual transition, but very few people seem to be waking up. With such.
Yeah.
I mean, relative to the amount of perceived wealth, that the value of gold and silver it's not even a pixel on a picture.
Right.
Well, that's a good question from Gary Huffman there.
Yep.
It would be nice to see into the future and know what the final system looks like. I mean, for sure, the dollars we've got now, or the dollars we think we'll be able to spend in the future, won't have the purchasing power. So we know that for sure.
Yeah.
Just because the dollar's lost 97% or 98% of its value since I was going to say the founding of the Fed, but the Fed sort of founded itself, didn't it? It was very secretive.
Yeah.
But anyway, just because it's lost so much, what's left is still our 100%. So that can lose 98%, right. In effect, go to zero. So that's definitely coming. Timeline, it might be a little bit longer than we think. I think they've got a plan to keep the dollar functioning. I think they can do some very sneaky, deceptive quantitative tightening.
Yeah.
All they have to do is lock up a few trillion of dollars here and there, whether that's in money market funds or corporation bank accounts, even funds held offshore that companies want to bring back. If that could get locked up by the Federal Reserve, by the government, i.e. you can't spend it.
That's leveraging them to stay in the system, basically.
Yeah, that's quantitative tightening. If they can, I've heard it proposed that when we go fully digital, and we're so close, you'll have digital dollars. That's what will work. That's what your credit card, your debit card, and everything. That's how you'll be able to spend money, receive currency. They could leave a lot of dollars behind as old dollars. That the promise would be they would transfer at some point in the future, and that point in the future will never come. The same way the gold standard was only temporarily suspended. Well, it's not voluntarily going to get put back, is it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that, and it, you know, Mike Maloney talks about how suddenly at the end, you know, the doubling starts to just get crazy fast.
Yeah.
And that, I suppose that's what we consider hyperinflation.
Yeah.
But when we've got down to 97, 98%, I mean, we got to be getting close to that, right? I mean, that's, you would think that.
Yeah, I guess so, Kevin. The system is functioning poorly for a lot of Americans, because if you're paycheck to paycheck, the system's functioning poorly for you, but it's still functioning.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned earlier, there's a plan. The people who are really pulling the strings have got a plan, and I see them as somewhat parasitic in their nature. I mean,
sure. No doubt.
They need a host. Parasite needs a host, and you know, they're playing 4D chess with us, really.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
You know, and now people's attention span is so short that they really are concerned about how they're going to make their rent, how they're going to pay their car payment, how they're going to get the grocery shopping, put gas in the truck. That's what a lot of people are functioning. That's how they're functioning. But definitely, as somebody mentioned before, there's a plan, and there's just see Neil's comment here when the BIS announced that gold is a tier 1 asset. So the only other tier 1 asset was US debt. Well, we know US debt is not really an asset you'd want to hold. So the BIS have been preparing.
Exactly.
But whether it will come to the people are allowed to use precious metals, I have a horrible suspicion it will just be the elite that will store their wealth.
The base of the system, not for the citizenry.
The base will people just have to carry on with whatever they're told to use, and they'll be trapped, because if they're paycheck to paycheck now, how can they exit the system? And Edward Griffin, he made a very good comment. Somebody asked, it almost seems impossible for the average person and to do anything about it. He said, well, stop being average. So, and I guess that's what you and I have done, Kevin. You know, it's not average, is it, to store one's wealth in precious metals and make it a goal to keep building your ounces up.
Yeah, well, and that's what makes it a little nerve-wracking when you watch something like The Great Taking, and you just realize, you know, the system itself, even if you took away, which I agree with, you know, that seems to be some tinkering of a parasite up top, but you know, even if you took that away, the system as is in place is a leech in itself, right? I mean, it's sucking.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you look at how productivity has been just gradually increased over many, many decades, over definitely in America from after the Second World War, productivity has just been a steady gain. Wages started to flatline around 1971. Just seeing a question here, give us a few steps to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, I'd go back. You've got to be thinking, well, the average person is unprotected, is just going to literally get robbed. So stop being average, I guess.
That's it. Start taking prepared steps, because it's really eating at you no matter.
If it's an ounce or two a week or whatever you can do, it doesn't sound a lot,
but it adds up.
Well, it's hard to comprehend that this could be, I mean, was it today $23 melt? Right. That could be $500-600 in 2, 3, 4 years time, 6 months. I don't know, but we've got 55 times more currency now than we had in 1980.
Right.
And we had a 44 times move in silver in that 1980 run up. But to say now we have 55 times more currency. We have a lot more people around the world who've got access to precious metals that they didn't have in 1980s, but we don't have any more supply, particularly of silver. The supply of silver is in deficit for nearly 3 years now, even according to the Silver Institute.
Right.
So hundreds of millions of ounces short. So at what point do we get to practical zero, when the industrial users start to panic and then they want to, okay, we don't want a month ahead, we want 6 months ahead. Soon as that happens, it's game over, isn't it, for silver?
Yeah, and it almost seems like we're starting to see that. You see those cracks, and then earlier, like we've had a few hot spots now where we see premiums just shoot off the board, and suddenly you get big online dealers saying we got to lock up till we see what happens here.
Yeah.
So you see this increased volatility, and then we see them talking about, oh, we had to tamp the silver market down with paper, and so it seems like temporarily, yeah, they can knock it down to make the public think, oh, there's no demand there.
Yeah.
But underlying, you're saying, boy, it's getting tight there, when it in actuality seems to be. So, and like they're saying, I mean, we're at a deficit already. So
and people often ask me, do you think there'll be confiscation of precious metals? And I'm certain that there won't be a forcible. I mean, because the biggest confiscations happened already, that most people are too scared or too poor to actually put even a modest amount into precious metals.
Right.
I've got some very smart friends, very well educated, and a lot of them will say to me, well, why would I buy silver? It's so volatile. And if you look at the action of the last few years, yeah, it's incredibly volatile. It's been pretty rubbish, to use a polite word. If you bought at 26 and now it's 23, or, I mean, wow, maybe somebody's watching who bought at $50 in 1980.
Yeah.
I've got a friend, and his dad did that. He literally filled his trunk up in his car with 100-ounce bars at $50, and then a few years later sold them at $6.
Wow.
So that history.
That's where you get the hatred from. Because sometimes I wonder where that comes from.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it'd be like buying Bitcoin at 60,000 and having to sell it at 16, wouldn't it?
Yep.
So I guess that's one thing you can do to protect yourself is, put some of your rainy day fund in, and if you have to sell a bit, well, that's a balance you've got to work out for yourself, because short term there's a risk you're going to lose, you're going to sell back for less, Right. I mean, if you've got a really, really friendly coin shop who looks after you, you're going to get hit on that spread. I mean, I had a friend came in today and he said one of the major, am I allowed to mention companies on here, or is it best to keep?
No, feel free. No.
Yeah, I mean, he said SD are offering below spot, and he used to trade with them. If he wanted to move from gold to silver or the other way, and he said they used to be pretty good. He said, I'm not going to use them now. He said that they're just really abusing their situation to offer below spot for bullion. That is always, even wholesale, it's got a value above spot.
Right. Yeah, no, that's hopefully what I think the more outlets we get, and the closer we can get to keep people honest, and the product not being locked up by big hands and being bullies about it, but the more access we have to it, that'll keep the competition, right, to keep the value there. So that's what
and it's incredibly hard to be a new entrant in the industry, especially especially when premiums are really low, and then the big companies can put on their flash sales, and then they go back to ripping you off next week. I've seen some, they're sort of shouting about, oh, we're only charging $5.99 for Eagles premium now, and we were $8.99. It's like,
right. No,
and we've been charging like $4.99 or $4.50 or $4.25 all the time. It's it's yeah. How do you encourage more people to get into it?
Right. Well, just like, you know, I know with your store and specifically, we'll switch gears a little bit here, but you know, I first found Ian from this product right here. Well, I'd seen him before, but I chased him down once I seen that he had a hold of this product here, which is a slice of 1,000-ounce Comex bar. And I sought it out at premium because I thought it was a great piece of history, and I'd always wanted to get a piece of a Comex, so this helped me to do so. But when I went to acquire it from him, and I heard the price that he was offering it to me, I about dropped. So I went back and got a few more. But that was kind of your idea behind this, was, you know, let's get as you know, as close to the market as we can, and make this available for the people so that they don't have to chase the $10-20 premium on Eagles on, right? I mean, so I really like the idea that you had about about these bars here, which again goes back to just getting product in people's hands. And so yeah, let's talk a little bit about your products.
Yeah, sure. I mean, these slices were not my idea. I wish they were. When we first started 3.5 years ago, straight away we started selling 1,000-ounce bars to retail, making available. And at the time, pretty well all the other dealers were telling people, you know, you don't want to buy them. But we were selling to people who wanted to put reasonable amounts of fiat into silver and put it away for decades. And the obvious answer, you want the lowest premium product. Right. So that's what we found. So it was silverback precious metals. And I met Jim, one of the founders at New Orleans 2 years ago. It was their idea to sort of resurrect it. It's been tried over many decades. Different companies have done it, but they've taken it to a fine level, made some great stamps. And yeah, the objective was to be able to have steady premium when the premiums blow out. You know, I remember when just almost your generic 100-ounce bar was going for $4 or $5 premium, which is just absolute crazy.
Right.
So at least with the Comex bars, the game is up when you can't get those anymore.
Yeah.
You know that that's it. There's hardly, you know, the cupboard's bare.
Right.
So it'll be the last product wholesale to be able to access. And the cost of cutting them, weighing them, stamping them is pretty fixed, doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
And it's independent of the system, independent of the mints, independent of the, you know, the LBMA and the Comex. And
yeah, well, before we get off the Comex, since we're on it a little bit, let's cover just a little bit about the Comex, because I've had a few questions on the Comex and what is the Comex, and I have said in the past that I think somehow they help to set the futures price of the actual silver and gold that comes out of the ground and comes into the market. And we know there might be some things with the weights and balances there, but what do you know about the Comex?
Well, originally it was the whole system of futures was to enable farmers to be able to plant and raise their crop, water it, you know, weed it, whatever they had to do, knowing they would get enough at the end of the harvest to make it worthwhile, and they wouldn't get caught out if there was a massive crop and the price crashed. So it was basically to enable farmers to survive, and then it just got carried on to other products. And poor old little silver, being such a tiny market, was the easiest one to pick on. So to at least, you know, oftentimes I hear figures of 500 times more silver is traded than actually exists.
Yeah.
You know, that's just crazy. There's no reason for that, apart from one, speculative gambling, but two, I would say blatant manipulation.
Yeah.
different people have different views. I mean, Dave Kranzler is more, yeah, you can push something in the direction it's going, but if you can bounce it around, you can scare people out of buying it. You know,
Sure.
if you buy it on Tuesday and it's 23 spot, and on Friday it's 25, and then next week it's 22. It's like,
yep.
Um,
and then once a bunch of it is dumped because of the paper market, they can let it creep back up
yeah,
a bit.
Yeah, and you've got the dysfunction that JP Morgan are the custodians of SLV. They're also, I think, they're now the joint custodians of GLD, because Goldman Sachs was the previous custodian, and they were presumed to be in such a precarious situation. I think they were told they had to share the custodianship in case they were tempted just to run out, take all the gold and run.
I see. So, do you mind? Is that story we talked about with the? Because I know with comics they're supposed to have X amount of underlying product to kind of set and be able to deliver X amount for the price in the future. That's supposedly.
No, absolutely, and the more they appear to have, the less attention there is. I mean, we had that period, the 2020 silver squeeze. The LBMA said a few weeks after they were about 2 weeks from running out of physical silver. I don't know why they said that. Maybe that was released by accident. That
right. I remember hearing that. Yeah.
So if there's a presumption, there's plenty of physical. There's, you know, I mean, it's the same. It's human action, isn't it? As soon as people think there's, you know, a shortage of toilet paper or gasoline, they go fill their truck up with gasoline and toilet paper, and then it does run out. So if there's a perception that it could get to the point of running out, there will be a run on it. So they're definitely doing everything they can, you know, shuffling it around. I think counting it twice quite often. I'm sure there's bars that have an owner that never intends to sell it, but they put it onto the stockpile so it looks like there's more liquid, there's more silver available.
Yeah, do you mind telling that example out or not?
No, sure. Yeah, I got a client friend, and he rang me up one morning. He rings sort of probably every month or so just to have a chat, and he tells me what he's seeing, and you know, and he's got some 1,000-ounce bars, and they're stored in a certain depository, and he found out that depository then lists them as registered on the COMEX.
Oh, really? That one?
He said, but I'm not selling it. I mean, the reason I bought it was to keep it out of the COMEX.
Wow.
But for tax reasons, he's keeping it in a certain depository. And so it looks like the COMEX even got their tentacles beyond their own physical warehouses and are claiming, you know, making it look like there's more silver available than there actually is.
Yeah. I thought that was a hilarious story. All right. Yeah. So, and so we'll get off the COMEX here in a second. I did sell a couple of those bars. I need to get with you and re-up. I ended up selling one of mine, so I need another one, and we need another one for Tiger. So we'll have to get together on those and get some more of those. And I know you had mentioned that in this case where silver has actually came down, the premiums are coming down. In this case, it's better just to pull 1,000-ounce bars that are in existence on the market. It would actually be cheaper than going through the delivery system and the extra payments that you have to put up to get your silver actually delivered and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, to take a contract, it's 5,000 ounces plus 10% plus other fees that you have to pay. You have to lodge that all up front. And then when you stand for delivery, from what I've heard, they won't tell you which vault it will come from until a few days before. And you have to use Brinks. I think you have to use Brinks to collect it. You can't just turn up in your pickup truck and load up your silver.
Yeah.
So they make it really hard for the retail to play that game.
That's what I've heard.
So at the moment, I would say it's more cost effective. You'll pay less per ounce just to
have
go for a good dealer who's got good contacts in the wholesale
Well,
market.
that's kind of why I'm pressing on this subject a little bit, is because I really enjoyed that slice and the other slices I got, and I think I can see there being a demand for, I mean, we're getting silver at close to cost, or as close as you can get it, and just cutting those slices up makes it available. And if I recommend that you get your rounds and your coins and that as well. But once you have some of those and you're just looking for weight, I mean, it's a great option. And it I don't know if you may have it seems like you talked to me a little bit about getting a hold of some thoughts, cutting them up yourself.
Yeah, we have got so many equipment. We've got, but it's time to set up the workshop and set up the saw and the, it's not just sawing them. You then got to collect the shavings, and then you got to do something with the shavings.
Hey, and on that, I know a few pourers who are hot on that type of trail, looking for that type of product. So
yeah, I mean, the shavings, once you wash them and dry them, it's a good substitute to silver shot for sure.
Yep. I've even had a few people talk to me on how to do that, and melting it down in cold water. That helps to separate some of that slag off and whatnot too. So that, I know there's people after that as well. So if premiums start running, then maybe we can work something out where we can get these slices out to people at low prices, because I know I've sold a few of them myself, and I had to put a little mark up there driving to pick them up from you and chasing them down and whatnot. But if we can get people going directly to you, we can probably put out some good ounces at a good price, I would think. But
yeah, I mean, at the moment, the generic silver is cheaper per ounce. I think you mentioned earlier about the premiums are low. They've literally compressed down. So, I mean, we're selling silver buffaloes at 175. And these are Silvertown mint, real nice crisp buffalo.
Yep.
And then even like a 10-ounce generic cast fleur de lis bar, $1.50 premium.
Woo, nice.
Yeah. So the generic stuff is getting really squished down on the premium now.
So yeah, guys, I don't know if you heard that, but that's $1.50 over for that beautiful bar there.
Yeah.
So
and even the sovereigns, I've never seen the premium so low. I mean, we've got the Britannias at $2.95.
There you go. Yep.
And then similar price kangaroos, Cougarans, maples, $3.40. Even eagles, $4.25 at the moment.
Nice. So yeah, and I want to get back. I'll come back. I know you have some other products in silver that I want to go over here too, but we got a great question in the chat here from Gary Huffman, and he says, what is your opinion on stacking osmium compared to gold and platinum? What would be your opinion of percentage of each that the average person should have?
So on the osmium, the raw metal could be a play. I think the worldwide production is around a ton, and there's been some stockpiles built up over the decades because osmium is so rare. There's never really been a practical use for it apart from a reagent and chemical analysis, fingerprint dusting, some very small volume uses.
I heard it was used for a light bulb back in the day.
It was, hence the Osram company is named from OS as the chemical symbol for osmium, and wolfram tungsten. So it was an osmium tungsten mix, hence the Osram name. Okay. It copes with heat. It's one of the highest melting points. In its raw metallic form, it does become rapidly toxic if it reacts with oxygen. So even a sintered cube will have holes in it that will eventually react with oxygen. Osmium tetraoxide is pretty toxic. So we sell an alternative product, vapor crystallized osmium, which is pure osmium still, but it goes through a 160-step process that took a Swiss scientist over 40 years to work out how to do it without blowing his machines up. And so he takes the raw osmium, cleans it almost on an atomic level, heats it up to over 9,000 Fahrenheit, and then manages to crystallize it. So we've been pleased so far what we're seeing on the price action on that. They started January 2017 at under $600 a gram, and now it's just touched $1,500 at the end of December. So it's gained about 15% a year. The downside is it's not a deep market, so it's not liquid. If you buy a piece and you need to sell it, you'll have to find a private buyer, or, I mean, we're starting to build up a market here as we're the first retailers. We got a couple of guys in Texas who are just bringing it to the market there. And looks like we got quite a few buyers in California now. So the more people that buy pieces, I think that will make the market more liquid. Either way, I think the raw osmium could be a good play. It is going to run out. It will be the first metal to practically become extinct. To get just a few grams, you have to move 10,000 tons of platinum ore. And the only reason people do that is to get the platinum. So there's a lot of osmium will never be recovered unless people are willing to pay millions of dollars an ounce for it.
Right. So it's and if mining for platinum shuts down, like you say, there'll be no more. That'll be it for osmium. So if some of these mining companies go down, there'll even be a smaller amount than what they're looking at, which was under, like, what was it? Could fit under your desk.
I mean, 23 tons is just over a cubic meter.
Just over a cubic meter. So that is the densest material on Earth. It's
the densest element. So therefore no substance can be denser. And it's the most rare non-radioactive element. Here's a big disc. I can put a little bit of it's a bit hard to do it in artificial light.
In the sunlight, my camera couldn't handle it.
It just dances. The crystalline structure is pretty incredible. It's a fascinating material. I was literally convinced and captivated by it when I first met the Osmium Institute at the New Orleans Investment Conference in 2022. So there's some great products as Swiss watch manufacturers are making. Again, it's really hard to show the reflectivity, but it's still, you can still buy small pieces. You can get a capital, an uppercase I, around $70. It's a bit hard. See if you can show
up just a bit. Up. There you go. Up just a bit more.
I think I probably dropped it on the keyboard.
Okay. I'm excited to get a piece of it. I broke down. I was going to buy an extra bar, but I had to break down and get a piece of osmium. Once I seen it he was talking to me about it, and then he brought out a little piece from across the room and kind of held it up and said, if your girlfriend walked in the room with a set of earrings, and I looked kind of thinking, whatever, and looked up, and man, he was across the room in just natural light, and I'd never seen anything jump out at me. It was a tiny piece, and so I couldn't help. I had to get my wife some, but so I'm excited to get a hold of it. It's got some amazing properties and very, very intriguing.
Someone asked me, could it replace diamond, and I was about to reply, well, of course it can. It's better, and it's a metal, and it's genuinely scarce. But then I thought, there's no way it can replace diamond, because we make diamonds from carbon. Synthetic diamonds are really inexpensive now. It won't be long, and they'll be probably $20 a carat. So the myth of diamonds is popping, but there's not enough of this to replace diamonds. There wouldn't be enough to make a tiny little earring for every American woman. That would be your 23 tons. So this is what's called an investor disc. So it's about a 3-inch disc. That's about, I think that's about 50 grams. So I think that's about $78,000 for that chunk.
For that one piece.
But the smaller pieces start around $50-$60. And you can go all the way up. There's about 250 different shapes and sizes.
So when I was up there, I think it was around what, just under $1,300 a gram. What is it now a gram about?
We broke 1,500. I think it was on the 28th of December. And
so it's still climbing.
Yeah, we were around 1470, 1480 today. One advantage of it compared to all the other precious metals, there's no commodity market in it. So there's no futures. So there's no manipulation. It's a natural monopoly. There's one company that have got to the stage where they can make it even crystallization.
Yeah, and I noticed at the beginning here it said that our primary objective is to inform individuals and companies about Osmium's tangible investment asset sector and jewelry sector. Let's see here. Where was I gonna? Okay, yeah. Osmium Institute was founded to facilitate worldwide standardized trade of the rarest precious metal on Earth. And you have, and it's being tracked. Like they have a website, and you can see the price of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you buy a piece, it will come in a box like this with a QR code.
Right.
So you just pull that QR code up, and it gives a full description of the piece. It also brings up high resolution 2D pictures and a 3D scan. So one of the many unique properties is every square millimeter, so literally the size of a pen point, has 10,000 more recognition points than a human fingerprint. I don't know if you can see, if you look, you can start to see like a constellation if I hold it still.
Hold it still, yep.
So
yep,
even a small piece has a pattern on it that you can identify from the pictures on the database. And once you purchase a piece, you have an ownership code gets transferred to you, and then only the holder of that code can transfer the ownership.
Yeah,
so you can't really steal it because you wouldn't be able to sell it on the open market. It's an interesting sort of fusion of tangible and the crypto blockchain.
That's what it says here: a marriage between tangible assets and digital security.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's the rarest precious metal, I guess I should say.
Yeah, it's already being used in Europe. Wealthy individuals are using it for trusted private transactions.
And is that how it's being priced? Because I'm wondering, like, I noticed it's showing a steady value increase, and I'm wondering where are they getting this from?
So it's a natural monopoly on the production.
Okay.
And it's a natural monopoly in the distribution. So the Osmium Institute was founded by Ingo Wolf. He met the Swiss scientist who worked out over 4 decades the process. And after his first meeting with him was 6 hours, he agreed to sell 16 of his businesses and pursue bringing Osmium to market.
Wow.
So what he's done, and it's really gaining popularity in Europe and in Dubai and South Korea, he's created demand for the rarest metal.
Yep. Okay. So it's kind of basically a natural supply and demand based thing.
It's a natural monopoly.
Yep. Okay.
So the process is still really hard to do. So they do have failure. So the harvest rate can drop dramatically. And then there's a temporary shortage till the next batch comes out.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Yeah, Gary Huffman. Ian, you can give out your number, his information. I think I put it in the description here too.
Yeah, sure. It's 307 264 9441.
Awesome. Thank you. And his website is arksgo.com, right?
That's correct.
All right, cool. And yeah, let's see here. So yeah, we probably got about we've been going for about 50 minutes. I'll probably try to wrap this up in an hour. I think I want to ask you more than I'm going to be able to get to. So, but we'll be having you back, right?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Awesome. We will. I think we have right now. We have set up to try to do every other Wednesday here. And I'm sure things will come up. If we have to jump around, we will. But for now, we'll try to come back here and talk more on these issues.
Yeah, and we at ARK, we definitely want to help you, Kevin, in your channel. So we will make sure that we have an unbeatable deal.
You already have unbeatable deals.
Well, we'll make them even more unbeatable.
Wow. Awesome. No, I really appreciate that. Oh, and before I forget, my wife said to say that, she had a great time. We had a great time. Kids had a great time. You kind of spoiled them, but we appreciate that. And
they had to leave with some silver. I mean, we've got to try to see if they can catch up with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that was awesome. We appreciate it. All right, here. What else? Let's see here. Oh, and you mentioned that you even have it kind of set up where Osmium can move from country to country and avoid VAT tax and did I get that right? Or
we can import it into the US tax free because each piece has a designated customs code.
Okay.
So the Institute has done a lot of work preparing for the US market.
Nice.
But we do have to charge sales tax on selling it at the moment because it's not.
But they're not going to seize it up at customs and say this can't transfer, pay us X amount of money to get this piece out of our hands.
No, what we do, we import it and then we give a discount to the retail price, and that way we have the hassle of doing the foreign wire transactions and
nice
sorting all that side out. And the process is getting quicker. We hope to get it down to about 10 days from placing the order with the Institute and getting the product in the US.
Okay. And yeah, maybe we'll have to go into actually buying a piece and what all is entailed with that. I know that like we were mentioning, this is kind of a unique way of tying the systems together where this is an asset like your house or like your car or maybe even better of an asset to have in that type of manner that's going to be recognized on the market.
Yeah.
But is tied to your name. So if someone comes to steal it and resell it, they're just going to
get caught. Yeah.
Right. They're just going to have the, authorities show up and say, this belongs to someone else. How do you have it? Right. So,
yeah.
So that'll be interesting to go through as well. And, all right, Ian, well, I think we'll go ahead and wind it down. Is there anything I'm not thinking of you wanted to discuss here today?
No, we could talk for hours, couldn't we?
Yeah, that's just kind of it. So,
but yeah, a big shout out to Silverback Metals for making these slices.
Yes. There's another one, guys.
We got a big batch of 14-ounce ones to make to try and get a more affordable entry point because their normal minimum is 25 ounce. They also, I think you showed take your Silverback. I think these are got to be the best round out there.
I agree. I love them. They're awesome.
Real nice mirror finish and great design. It was a British sculptor did the design of the Gorilla. Just a great 1 ounce round, and they do a 1 ounce bar as well. So again, they do a low premium 1 ounce bar.
Yeah, I need to get a hold of some of those as well from you. I don't have that bar form from you yet in my deep stack. And then you have this 2 ounce, which is
Didn't Jim do an amazing job on these?
Oh, those are too cool. I'm going to try
Yeah.
to zoom in here on mine. Yeah, I really like the way these came out. Very cool pieces, and these are actually kind of taken from the same area, so they get tracked back as well. So
Yeah, they're linked back to the Comex bar that they came from. Yeah,
they came from. So right now, while we have these historical Comex pieces, he showed you a piece of a bar there. I need, if you see a taller, the taller form, you had a kind of a squat form there. Yeah, there, and it has a hole. There you go. Hold that one for Tiger Stacker. Tiger, you here? You like that one? Let's see if he answers back to that. I think Tiger's going to want to grab that. And then I need to get a short squat with a hole in it. But,
yeah. You want that section with a hole in.
He says he's. Yep, that's what I want. And Tiger said he'll take that other one you just had up. So.
Oh, I don't know. That came from bar number 69 that they processed.
Oh,
So
wow.
That's
nice.
a fairly early one, but yeah, I guess if he's going to a friend of yours, it's going
to really
a good home.
Well, I'll let you guys work that out, but yeah, okay. I think that's what he's looking for, something just like that or that piece. That would be awesome. So those are just amazing. I love them. Oh yeah, that's the same. That's the one you're missing, I think, Tiger. So cool. All right, guys. Well, we thank you all so much for showing up here. We got Tiger Stacker, Spokane Silver Stacker, Lassie Farm, Pocket Change Inspector. Thank you all for coming. Everybody else, and Ian, will have you back again here in a couple of weeks.
I was just see you got Spokane Silver Stacker there. So
yep, Spokane. He's got a great channel. He's got
an Idaho neighbor.
Nice. Homestead Aquarius, all great channels. Gary Huffman, I think he's got a new channel out too. So Space Miner here coming in at the bottom. Everybody go check everybody out. Thanks all for being here, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
And thank you, Kevin, for what you're doing. You're doing awesome.
Awesome. Well, we'll try to keep it going forward then. All right, thanks guys. Catch you on the next one.